India's luxury car market is experiencing a growth spurt. Sales have skyrocketed, driven by a younger, wealthier clientele.
What if I told you that a tiny car, smaller than most people's daily coffee budget, just sent shockwaves through the global auto industry? Not Tesla, not BYD, not Volkswagen, but a humble creation from India, priced at just $2,999, is making billion-dollar car companies sweat bullets. And here's the kicker. It's not a concept, not a prototype, not a futuristic render. It's real. It's rolling off production lines right now. And it's threatening to upend everything we thought we knew about electric cars. How did a small, relatively unknown startup pull off what the biggest names in automotive have failed to deliver for years? And could this be the beginning of a new era where innovation doesn't come from Silicon Valley or Stuttgart, but from the bustling streets of India? This isn't just a car story. It's an economic, cultural, and technological earthquake. Let's dive into the unlikely revolution of the world's cheapest electric car, and why the entire industry is holding its breath. The unexpected rise of India's EV ambition.
Charging up India's EV journey. India is racing towards a greener future, and electric vehicles are at the heart of that transformation.
Only a few years ago, when people talked about electric cars, India wasn't even in the conversation. The spotlight was on China's massive factories, Germany's luxury engineering, and America's Tesla showmanship. India? It was battling chaotic traffic, high fuel prices, and infrastructure that barely kept up with traditional vehicles. But beneath the surface, something was brewing. The Indian government began quietly laying the groundwork. Tax incentives, subsidies, and policies that encouraged electric mobility. People started swapping their petrol scooters for electric ones. Cities like Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore began to hum with the quiet buzz of battery-powered two-wheelers. Local players like Ola Electric, Ather, and TVS tapped into the market first. The shift was gradual. Tech-savvy city residents embraced it, then smaller towns followed. And then came the four-wheeler wave. Tata Motors released affordable electric hatchbacks. Mahindra joined in. International brands like MG and Hyundai tested the waters. The perception shifted. EVs weren't the future anymore. They were here, now. And just when the world thought it had India's EV story figured out, an underdog entered the ring. Enter Yakuza Auto, the disruptor. No one saw coming. While Tesla was making headlines for promises it couldn't keep about a $25,000 EV, and Chinese manufacturers were doubling down on premium-priced, tech-heavy models, a small Indian startup called Yakuza Auto quietly went in a completely different direction. They didn't want the fastest car, or the flashiest, or the most autonomous. They wanted the most practical. The Yakuza Mini EV is bare bones by design. No autopilot, no 17-inch touchscreen, no extravagant add-ons. Just a clean, functional car. 4 wheels, seating for 4, over 100 kilometers range per charge, at a price almost anyone could afford. At $2,999, around 175,000 rupees, it's not an aspirational luxury. It's a tool. For students commuting to class, for small business owners making deliveries, for families navigating crowded urban streets, and the timing couldn't be more perfect. Fuel prices are climbing worldwide. Air pollution is choking cities, and millions of people are looking for a way to get around that doesn't destroy their budget or the planet. The secret behind the impossible price. So how did they do it? How do you build a functioning road-legal EV for less than the cost of an iPhone? First, Yakuza Auto refused to play by the traditional automaker rulebook. Instead of building a massive billion-dollar factory filled with robots, they used smaller regional facilities staffed by skilled local workers. This decentralized model not only kept costs low but also created jobs in multiple cities. Second, they sourced almost everything locally, from the chassis to the upholstery to the batteries. They avoided expensive imports, instead partnering with Indian battery manufacturers to produce reliable lithium iron phosphate LFP units. These batteries aren't designed for 500-kilometer cross-country trips, but they're perfect for city driving and far cheaper. Third, they embraced simplicity. Forget panoramic sunroofs, massaging seats, and ultra-complex electronics. This car can be fixed by a neighborhood mechanic. Parts are cheap and easy to replace. Even the ground clearance was designed for India's famously bumpy roads. Every decision was guided by one question: what do people actually need? Designed for the real world, not the showroom. In cities like Mumbai or Delhi, where traffic crawls and streets are narrow, a flashy luxury EV isn't just impractical, it's a liability. But the Yakuza Mini EV thrives in exactly these conditions. It's small enough to maneuver through tight spaces, efficient enough to handle multiple trips a day without recharging, and durable enough to survive potholes the size of small ponds. Early adopters raved about it. Parents could drop their kids at school, run errands, and still have plenty of charge left. Shop owners could make deliveries without paying for fuel. College students loved the low running costs. Charging overnight was cheaper than a week's worth of public transport fares. The word spread, not through million-dollar ad campaigns, but through friends, neighbors, and social media videos. People weren't just buying a car, they were buying freedom from rising fuel prices. The global wake-up call. When Western news outlets first heard of a fully electric, road-ready car selling for under $3,000, many assumed it was a scam. But as photos and reviews poured in, skepticism turned into shock. In Detroit, Stuttgart, and Tokyo, executives began asking, if they can do it, why can't we? Tesla faced uncomfortable comparisons. Its cheapest model costs 8 times as much. Chinese EV giant BYD, despite economies of scale, couldn't match the price. Industry analysts compared the Yakuza Mini EV to historical disruptions: how smartphones crushed the old mobile phone giants, how Netflix obliterated Blockbuster. The pattern was the same. A simple, affordable product that solved a real need would always outcompete over-engineered luxuries. Suddenly, government delegations from Africa, Southeast Asia, and South America were flying to India to study the model. Could this be replicated in their own markets? Charging ahead. India's infrastructure revolution. Of course, an EV is only as good as the network that supports it. A few years ago, India's lack of charging stations was a huge barrier. Today, that's changing fast. From big cities to small towns, thousands of charging points are popping up every month. In malls, office complexes, metro stations, and even highway rest stops. Many are powered by renewable energy from India's rapidly expanding solar and wind farms. Fast chargers can top up a Yakuza Mini EV in just a few hours. Overnight charging at home is enough for most users. And with costs this low, range anxiety is becoming a thing of the past. The government's aggressive EV push is helping. Tax breaks, subsidies, and infrastructure investments are turning India into one of the most dynamic EV markets on Earth. Perhaps the most surprising part of this story is how the Yakuza Mini EV reflects a bigger cultural change. In the past, buying a car in India was a status symbol. People stretched their budgets for the biggest, flashiest model they could afford. But today's younger generation values function over flash. They want practicality, low costs, and environmental responsibility. For them, the Yakuza isn't cheap. It's smart. It's also symbolic of a generational break from seeing cars as luxury items. It's transportation stripped of ego, and that resonates far beyond India's borders. The Yakuza Mini EV isn't just staying in India. Countries in Africa, South America, and Southeast Asia, places with high fuel prices and limited transport options, are lining up to import or even produce it locally. In Kenya or Nigeria, its high ground clearance and simple mechanics make it ideal for rough roads. In Brazil or Indonesia, its affordability could open car ownership to millions for the first time. And here's the twist. For decades, tech innovations flowed from rich countries to poorer ones. Now, a product from a developing nation might lead the world. The challenge to global giants. The Mini EV's success forces an uncomfortable truth onto the world's biggest car makers. They've been ignoring a massive market. Some are already responding. Volkswagen is planning a low-cost EV for emerging markets. General Motors is exploring stripped-down designs. Even BMW is studying Yakuza's model, but copying the price tag is easy. Copying the philosophy, that's harder. It's not just about making a cheaper car, it's about rethinking the entire process. Local sourcing, decentralized production, minimalistic design, and a laser focus on real-world needs. For the established giants, this might be the most disruptive idea of all. Yakuza Auto now faces a new challenge: scaling up without losing the magic. Can they expand internationally while keeping prices low? Can they resist the temptation to upgrade the car into something more expensive? Battery tech will evolve, regulations will vary, and competitors will try to undercut them. But if they stick to their mission, serving the overlooked majority rather than the wealthy few, they could spark a genuine global mobility revolution. The Yakuza Mini EV isn't just a car. It's proof that innovation doesn't have to be complex, expensive, or elite. Sometimes the most powerful change comes from asking a simple question: what do people actually need? While billion-dollar automakers race toward dreams of autonomous fleets and luxury pods, a small Indian startup has quietly delivered something far more radical: affordable freedom of movement. And that, in the long run, could change the world.